Sir, what might be the first step?
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one. What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally. But let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million. We were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, if I were President Tinubu, I would try to steer clear of antagonizing him, because there is nothing a bully likes better than taking on people who are not strong enough to resist him.
Awesome subscribers, this is BVI Channel 1. You're welcome back again on Matters Horizon. Tonight we are live again to discuss global issues as it affects every one of us. Because we are global citizens, it's not just only about Nigeria or Africa, but the world. Talking about the inauguration of the 47th President of the United States of America, in the person of Donald Trump. It had come with heavy hammer. And today we are going to be discussing the impact of some of his policies and his executive orders he have already signed on African people in Africa. All right, we are going to be looking at some of those ways and some of the issues that will impact your life in Africa, and how we Africans should begin to do adjustments, especially the political class in Africa. So we're going to look at that very briefly, and also we're also going to look at other issues regarding advice coming from diplomats in Nigeria, advising their different presidents, or in this case, Nigerian president was being advised. We're going to look at all of those things tonight. And don't forget that we're streaming live from all our social media platforms, on Facebook, on our Instagram platform, and our YouTube channel, our YouTube backup channel, BVI Channel 1 Plus. We are streaming from there and also from our main channel as you're watching. Thank you for joining. I still remain as Suchero Peters. Tonight, let us begin with the Trump executive orders that has raised dust and the ones that could impact in your life. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Sir, what might be the first step?
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the court? That one is likely to be passed.
Could be. We think we have good ground, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good ground. What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally. But let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million. We were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but, you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
Mr. President, you
Pretty
spoke
sad
about-
to think of it. China pays 39 million, and we pay 500 million. And China's a bigger country.
Mr. President, you spoke about inflation today in your remarks. What actions are you taking today that will have a direct impact on American costs?
Energy. They screwed up, and then they're back to it. You know, they hurt it really badly, and then they went back to it, and they started drilling more. But by that time, it was too many of these things that we're signing, and that are going to be stopping of energy. We're taking a lot of money from energy, more than anybody else. We'll make a lot of money. European index of 20 equivalent. They're tough. They're very tough. They don't take our cars. They don't take our farm product. They don't take almost anything. And yet we take their cars, and we take their farm product. We take a lot from them. So like a $3 billion deficit with the European Union. So we'll straighten that out. We'll have to buy our oil. The one thing they can do to catch up quickly, buy our oil and gas.
Will you travel
And they
to
should do this.
China this year?
I could be. I've had the invite.
Mr.
President Xi invited
I would
you
do.
to
Yeah.
come this year.
Talking about the European Union and the tariffs, like, what do you mean to say the European Union is BRICS?
That are what?
BRICS. You said
Oh, BRICS. No, I was talking about BRICS. BRICS is 6 nations. I think it's 7 nations. And they were looking to do a number in the United States. And if they do that, they won't be happy about what's going to happen to them.
Are you still considering a universal tariff, Mr. President, on all countries?
I may, yeah, but we're not ready for that yet.
All right. Thank you. That is it from Trump. I believe that by now many of you have heard about his childbirth citizens' right and all of those things. We're going to dissect that, and the immigration policies and his removing U.S. from World Health Center and all that. We're going to be discussing that with our guest, who will be joining us virtually from Philippines. But before then, let us quickly look at the advice coming from a diplomat in Nigeria by name Bolaji. Let's take a look at his opinion when he was with Channels Television on a live interview. I'll be right back. Don't go away.
Well, I mean, if I were President Tinubu, I would try to steer clear of antagonizing him, because there is nothing a bully likes better than taking on people who are not strong enough to resist him. You know, there is that African proverb, if you are not strong enough to take on a bully and you take him on, you are just even going to suffer more for it. It's like because Muhammad Ali slaps me, I would then want to enter the ring to confront him. He will just take off my head. It's as simple as that. So if he gives me one slap, I will move several steps backward to make sure that the next punch from him doesn't land on me. And that's the advice I will give President Tinubu. Try and avoid, having a confrontation with him, even if that means that he does things that annoy or does things that steps on the interests of Nigeria.
that is it from the Channels Television interview. Don't forget, we are live on Matters Horizon, and we're streaming this program from all our social media platforms. In case you have any opinion you want to drop, feel free to drop it via the comment section, or you call the numbers on the screen, +234-810-454-533. Now it's my pleasure to welcome our guest on the program tonight. We'll be having Dr. Tony Nwankwo Nwezigwe, the former director, Central for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He is joining us from Philippines, and you must also know that he is an expert in ethnic and religious conflicts in Africa. He is currently president of International Coalition Against Christian Genocide in Nigeria
and Africa.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doctor, for joining us this evening.
Something scheduled 2 o'clock. You don't suppose if you do earlier.
Okay, your time is 2 a.m.
I have other things to do.
Hello? Can you hear me? I don't think you can hear me. Please, you can unmute their mics if their mics are not, if their mics are muted. I believe they should be able to hear me. Hello, good evening, Dr. Nwankwo. I don't think they can hear me. They cannot hear me. While we wait for them to, while we get them on, NDBC. Okay, NDBC. Doctor, can you hear me now? It's a technical problem. Go on doctor's line and check if you have a problem there, so that we get this thing up. Mute and unmute it again so that you'll be able to. Hello, doctor. Can you hear me now? Ndubisi, can you hear me? But doctor cannot hear me. Doctor, can you hear me? Well, let us get back on our the video of Trump. Then when we sort it out, we'll come back to bring on our guest. Please pardon us for that very mix-up. I'll be right back.
What might be the first step?
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one.
What about that one in the court? That one is likely to be passed.
Could be. I think we have good grounds, but you could be right. I mean, you'll find out. It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We think we have very good grounds.
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization, sir?
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China, with 1.4 billion people, we have 350 to pay. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but, you know. And when
Hello, doctor. Can you hear me now? Okay, because okay, we've been trying to bring you on, but it seems you weren't hearing us. Sorry about that mix-up, and sorry for the delay in beginning kicking off the program tonight. For the benefit of our viewers, we are on with our special guest from Philippines, talking about Dr. Nwankwo Tony Mwezigwe, who is from Ibuza, the former director, Central for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He's an expert in ethnic and religious conflicts in Africa, and he's currently the president of International Coalition Against Christian Genocide in Nigeria and Africa. It's a pleasure to have you, sir, on the program tonight.
Thank you very much.
Now, the 47th president of the United States have taken over in the person of President Trump, and he has started releasing some of his policies and executive orders. Which of them are you concerned about as it affects Africa, especially regarding conflicts in Africa?
Well, I think I think that question should have, you should have asked me, because he has actually issued multiple executive orders. You talk about the issue of immigration. You have the issue of LGBT, and of course other ones. Yeah. So I think I'm at home with all the executive orders he made. So it depends, on the circumstances or the trajectory of your questions to me, so I can air my view.
No, the trajectory of what we're talking about, the impact of some of those policies, beginning with immigration, for instance. What impact do you think is going to have on Africa?
I think the basic point is this: we have to understand the internal dynamics of American system. Much of the people who are actually migrating into America from Mexico are from the Latin world, are from South America. Only few Africans are able to travel all the long journey to Venezuela, Colombia, and then come that way. But the major concern with Trump is that of Latinos. I mean, the Central Africans who are actually dominating, the lower jobs of America, and not the blacks, and not Africans. They say so. The major targets are not Africans, but the Latin Americans who have the opportunity to leave their homes and come over to that side. So I don't think it will impact more on Africans.
Okay, when you say it doesn't affect Africa the more, I think it has a way of impacting in Africa, especially talking about the mass migration. We are looking at Africa that has a lot of mineral resources. We've seen a breakdown of governance in Africa, and we've seen a lot of conflict that have made African people to migrate, not just to America, but outside Africa. Does it give you concern that Africans are living in their grooves, especially with this modern expatriate, as they call it, highly skilled immigrant route? Many people are choosing, which is what I consider a modern slave route to extract the best of African human and natural resources. Now, the policy of Trump somebody like me is seeing it as a way to discourage Africans from migrating from Africa, to discourage Africans and encourage them Africans to stay back home, especially with the pipe dream of American dream, going to pursue American dream, whereas your homeland is deserted, your land is marred with conflict, your land is marred with bad governance, resulting to poverty, hunger, and several sicknesses which African people are trying to cope with. Now, with the position of Trump, they say is anti-immigration policies. In as much as I can agree with you that majority of the people who are flooding into America are from the Latinos and the rest of them, those surrounding countries. But yet, significant number of Africans are leaving Africa in droves. And do you buy into that mentality or ideology of Trump, encouraging people to stay back in their homeland and fix their homeland by themselves, especially in a place like Africa where people will help corrupt politicians to rig elections? Then the impact of bad governance, when it hit on them, they all start running away from Africa. How do you look at that? That is the area we're looking at it.
Okay, generally, restriction of illegal immigration. They're talking about illegal immigration, and this is not limited to America. It's limited to Britain, to Europe in general, and to the Arab world, and so on and so forth. The result, the major impetus impelling such migrations arose from the misgovernance of our nation, mismanagement of our resources, and the oppressive stances of the ruling class in Africa. I am a refugee here. I'm a refugee here in Philippines. Ordinarily, I should be in my institution teaching at the University of Nigeria, like my other colleagues. The circumstances led me to move. So we need, Trump's, although Britain actually tried to do it when they try to limit, where they are still, the policy is still on to limit immigrants to the British Isles. And of course, the consequences are very, very there for them, are very, and also very, very good for Africans. But the point is, you are telling people, you are turning people back to their country without taking commensurate action to make sure that those people who are causing the migration of our people from their homeland to Europe in search of the golden fleece, that they are put into account, that actions are accountable. European countries don't do that. So it's not a question of stopping people from migrating from their homes, coming to America, coming to Europe. As a kid, Nigerians who traveled overseas for studies, They did not waste a day to come back to Nigeria to resume their jobs because the enabling environment in Nigeria, security-wise, economic-wise, social-wise, was there. This time, if you're sounding, I could remember, I don't know how many postgraduate students my University of Nigeria School sent overseas that actually came back. They never came back to take up their jobs because the enabling environment to sustain their profession, to sustain their ambition was not there. It's absent. So the European Trump, yes, has done it to encourage people from leaving their homes. But Trump should go further by making sure that those African governments that created those that start those unsavory situations that force their citizens out of their countries are brought to book, are compared to be more patriotic towards the welfare of their people. So it's a two-way action. You drive people, then you stop people from coming to your home, but you also stop those governments from oppressing their people. A balance action between those fleeing their country and those causing the situation, causing the crisis, the conflict that led to their leaving their country.
Okay, so what you're saying in essence is that there should be a kind of sanctions on some of these we are looking at African leaders who have caused a lot of bad governance that had triggered the crisis in Africa and pushing people to migrate away from the land. If that is the case, then that is acceptable. Now,
it's not just sanction. It's not just sanction. If possible, initiate moves to remove them from power.
They do not have the constitutional right or role to remove any government in power. It is left for we Africans living in Africa to do that, despite the fact we know the role some of these international communities play, and also some of these first world countries play in influencing who becomes leaders in Africa. But to a large extent, we as African people must stand our ground and stop the blame game. That is my own position. And I think that is the idea of Trump. Now, looking at Trump's policies generally, we've talked about that of immigration. What about the issue of conflict resolution? Because we remember before these guys came on board in 2015, we knew the role America played when the APC and their associates went to White House in protest of the Chibok girls. We know the role they played and ensured the change of government at that time. So now there is a new turn for a new dispensation under Trump. What kind of conflict resolution are you looking at coming from the Trump policies? Do you think that it's going to have any impact, especially in fighting terrorism and the continuous annihilation of Christian minorities in northern Nigeria to start with?
Thank you very much. This has been the problem I've been having with some of my kinsmen and colleagues in the United States of America, who were against people supporting Trump. I told them, if you ask Nigerians to vote for Trump, 100% will vote for Trump. Now let me begin. In 2018, President Buhari paid an official visit to the United States of America under Trump's invitation. During the Oval Office meeting, let me quote part of the remarks President Trump made in respect of Nigeria. Quote, also, we have had very serious problems with Christians who have been murdered, killed in Nigeria. We are going to be working on that problem. That was a law passed by the Congress with a fine imposed that if you fail to do it, the Congress will cut 50% of your foreign missions budget, except you continue to renew it every 6 months. So from 1995 until Trump emerged as president took over in 2017, it was a case of renewal. No American president was bold enough to put that law into action. And Trump said, look, I will transfer the capital of Israel from Tel Aviv to what? To Jerusalem. And he did it. Heaven did not fall. Trump is somebody who says, I will do this. Look, what he achieved. You are talking of, are we talking about the Middle East conflict? Well, if you now talk of Abraham's Accord, where Trump was able.
Oh, but you switch it back. Switch it. But
Power. The massacre of Christians in Azerbaijan shouldn't have taken place. But you are seeing a situation where whenever Muslims are attacked, Iran and other countries will call it, oh, war against Muslims. But when Christians are being slaughtered globally, all those who call themselves as Christian presidents from Christian nations will not care. When President Donald Trump was telling Buhari about the killing of Christians in Nigeria, Buhari did not say anything. Buhari was covering up. He was talking about herdsmen farmers battle. Because what has herdsmen farmers conflict to do with the massacre of over 50 worshippers in our Catholic Church in southern Nigeria? What has farmers headers conflict to do with killings and displacement of Christians in Middle Belt, Benue, Plateau, Nasarawa, Kaduna, and so on and so forth? So we believe that this is a time Christians will wake up, because we have a dummy Christian leadership in Nigeria. The so-called Christian Association of Nigeria leadership are done this. Indirect rule system. But this time, you have a situation where Christians don't have a say, because they know once the INEC man is a Muslim, you are talking about the judges, the Supreme Court judges. Most of them are corrupt and they don't care. All they know is intimidation. So this time, Nigerian Christians will not only, they've been praying for Trump to win. Now that he has won, we must try to utilize all available opportunities to make sure that our rights are sustained. Because what are problems with various Democrats, president of Democratic Party, is that they've been pro-Islam. They've been pro-Muslims against Christians, even though America is a Christian nation. We are talking of Obama. What did Obama bring to us as African-based president, African-rooted president? Nothing. Now we are talking about other things. What did he do? He was trying to impose homosexuality on our people, LGBT and so on and so forth, which is anathema to African values, if not Christian values, but African values. And you, a son of Africa, was trying to impose it as a condition for American patronage. But here, people may criticize. Nobody is perfect. Nobody, even Christ said, no man is perfect except the Son of Man. So when people are enumerating the imperfections of Donald Trump, I try to focus on his perfections, which far outflanks, which far subdues his imperfection. Nobody, no president should have survived the kind of persecution Donald Trump underwent penultimate this election, or to stop him from coming in. And recently, you saw the Archbishop of Washington, D.C., talking about defense of LGBT and so on and so forth, and so on. It's ridiculous. A Christian that should have come, a Christian leader that should have come out to say this is the height of sinfulness, is now praising what made God to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. As the foundation, as the signpost of Islamism. So for Americans to encourage those things that are anathema to the values of Christianity, that are anathema to the values of an African people, is ridiculous and unacceptable. So we support Donald Trump on his executive order on banning homosexuality. If we are actually Christians. Let me stop there. Thank you first.
All right, thank you very much. You have really made a very valid point, and so many people, I believe, who are watching will have their own say on this. Now, you've talked about the impact of Trump's policy, especially what is expected moving forward regarding the persecution of Christians around the world, especially in Africa, particularly Nigeria. Now, what about in the elections? You know, when we say, it seems that we in Africa, especially in Nigeria, expect too much from Donald Trump. And some people who I've spoken with who are in America will say otherwise, that we are expecting too much from this man that will have nothing to offer. Now, talking about the issue, we've talked about the migration issue, we've talked about the religious issues, moral issues. Now, does it concern you with this bet certificate, right citizenship law that he has, enacted, that is banning such a bet citizenship right?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me address our brothers in the United States. They stay there, eat hamburger, eat chicken, at anything, enjoy themselves. They have not experienced suffering. You can't compare. You stay there. We are talking of American foreign policy, which does not apply to internal dynamics of American governance. You are concerned is the conflict between America. Thrown away. Ethnicity and religious extremism is worse than racism, because you are not talking about injustice committed by an African against his fellow African. You don't compare with injustice committed by European against African. They are two different things. And those our Nigerian. Let me be specific. I'm not just talking about Africans. African, but the Nigerians in diaspora, especially in America, are very naive politically. They are very naive when it comes to American foreign policy. Take the Jews in particular. The Jewish population is a minor, it's an infinitesimal percentage of the entirety of American population. But there's no American president, either a Democrat, a Republican, who does not take into consideration the need for America to pursue a Jewish-centered policy in the Middle East. We have never seen our people in the United States of America going to lobby to make sure that the United States of America, the presidency, whichever comes into power, takes African-centered or Nigerian-centered or Christian-centered policy for Africa in their foreign affairs. They don't do that. They're just telling us, you don't know anything in America, you don't know anything in America. That is not our, we mustn't know everything about America. You have to invest to defend your people. That is why an American Jew can decide anytime to abandon his job and go to Israel and take up arms to defend his country. But now, we expect our people in America to be pursuing their right to vote. Americans staying in foreign countries have right to vote.
Oh, Jesus.
We expect them. That is a way for them to come and impose effective democratic change in our country. Let them start fighting for their rights to vote in Nigeria. It's not sitting down. We expect them to do it. Maybe this should be the policy, the only thing we want them to do under Trump. Use all their resources, their lobbying ability, which they've not been able to utilize. Use them to make sure that this government compels the Nigerian government to impose, to enact a law that supports, foreign Nigerians outside the country to vote during elections, just as Israelis do, just as the Americans do, just as the Europeans do. Because wherever you are, and you are still a citizen of Nigeria, you have electoral rights to decide the progress of their country. You have electoral right to decide who rules your country. It's not a question of organizing parties, dancing, showing off. It's not enough. You ask them to get money for campaign, little money to lobby and do campaign. They will not do it. They will hold a lot of money, carry out parties, and construct latifundia, big estates as in form of village accommodation. We they rarely visit yearly. These are economic weights. They don't think about the future. So when you are now talking about if you come out to criticize President Trump for introducing new birth restriction, criticize yourself. What is happening in Nigeria in particular? You're a Nigerian citizen. When you move to another state, even if you stay there 20 years, even if you are born there in Lagos State, or you are born in Kano or any other state, you are not yet an indigenous of that state. You cannot contest election freely in that state. You are not claimed. You are not fully an indigenous of that state. There must be discrimination. We still have state of origin. But in America, if you're there, you move from one state to the other. It will not take you long before you claim that state as a home state. Does it happen so in Nigeria? So those criticizing Trump should work towards making sure that what they're looking, the fault they're looking into other people is not part of their life. If it exists in their place, should first be remedied. So we can argue from a strong moral point of view.
All right.
So I can't stop Trump because he's doing everything to make sure that America is secured from incessant Islamist attack, which is gradually overtaking Europe. And Europe is helpless now. And America has to arrest it before it gets to the point Europe, finds herself presently.
I agree with you totally on that, because that is exactly what people are not seeing. The Arab world is moving swiftly, invading so many nations across the world through this migration, and sometimes use this crisis in the Middle East. And if you look at it, some of these policies of the Democrats have encouraged or engineered global crisis in different countries, which also results to mass migration. And as the people are migrating, you can't really control who is coming into your country with what belief. That's why today in London, you can see them taking over the entire street, making it look like what you see in Afghanistan, not even in Saudi Arabia, because there is some level of sanity in some countries of the Middle East. But if you see what is happening in most Western countries, in Europe and America, you begin to wonder. And I believe, that's why I believe, I agree with you when you talk about the reason Trump is making some of these policies and is insisting on that. Now, we looking back home, what do we do ourselves? Because Africa had become a free bride. Arab will come from the Middle East, wipe them. The ones from the Western world will come from the America and Europe, wipe them. They take everything, hook, line, and sinker, including from Asia. What will Africans do to stand on their feet? What will Africans do to put a stop to all of this, making themselves be at the receiving end of global crisis?
Yes, thank you very much. The point is that the West is either they're hypocritical, which is coming against them, or they are weak because of the petrodollars of the Arab war. For instance, the United Nations Convention on Refugees, 1951. If you look at it, no Arab nation adopts it. No Muslim nation. What it means is that all the Arab nations, both North Africa and the Middle East, and even other major Arab nations in Asia, like Indonesia, they don't accept refugees. But then, they encourage their people through either the Commission of Crisis or by the incident of persecution to move to Europe. And it's part of their discreet, or do I say stealth Islamization or jihad system. They move into Europe. They create an enabling environment in their homes that pushes their people outside the country. They move through into Europe, where there's freedom, where there's care and welfare. And they go there, they utilize it and try to impose this same culture, this same oppressive culture they are running from. Try to impose it on the people that even accommodated them. That's the difference between African refugees and Arab Muslim refugees. An African refugee, like a Nigerian, comes into your home, adapts into your system, learns your language, and tries to live according to your customs, according to your values, in order to curry more favor from you. Before the Arabs and Muslim world, they come into your home with every, not minding the kind of hospitality, the level of hospitality you grant them. They come there to impose their own idea, the same antiquated idea of violence, Sharia, and so on and so forth, on you in their own country. And European and Christian countries are seeing it as a form of liberalism, as a form of freedom. When freedom moves beyond the optimal level, it becomes reckless. And when a freedom becomes reckless, it's no longer freedom. It becomes a bondage. So in the case of Africa, because you will ask, the point is that the African nations, the African Christians are naive about their history. They are corrupt. When you are corrupt, you lose the moral dexterity to bring value judgment into your life. And that explains why when oppression comes into your nation, you don't look at it objectively. You look at it from the political, point of your selfish interest. Otherwise, what is happening in Nigeria today, what is happening in the Sahel region, Niger, Chad, Burkina Faso, Mali, and so on and so forth, shouldn't have taken place. But you could see how these people are gradually extricating themselves from the shackles of French colonialism. Because of this oppression, you've been there as a colonial master. You didn't solve the problem. You've been there with your troops. You've not been able to push out your troops. Here in Nigeria, from Boko Haram to ISIS, from ISIS to herdsmen, from herdsmen to bandits, from bandits, another, another insurgency has also emerged on northwest angle, Kebbi State, all driven by Muslims. And you feel if the present government in Nigeria, who are Muslims all through, are serious about curtailing this insurgency, that they will not do it. It took the Nigerian government 30 months to quell Biafra, a secessionist regime. Now it's taking the country more than 10 years to quell ordinary insurgencies. And most of the soldiers that are being sent to war from are Christian soldiers, gradually slaughtering the Christian army officers and soldiers in the battlefield. And that is another form of still jihad, still cleansing, ethno-religious cleansing in Nigeria, which most people don't want to go to. Nobody wants to speak. You have Christian leadership that are only interested in paying tithes, in making money, buying private. So what we need is a concerted effort by our people abroad, our people, dedicated people, not people who say, "Oh, my children will not come back to Nigeria again," and so on and so forth. People who don't even care if their children speak their indigenous languages and so on. Because there are some Igbo people there, some Igbo men in Lagos, United States, whose children cannot speak Igbo, but they claim to be Igbo, and they take it as a pride. But if you claim to be a Jew today, the first thing you know is how to learn Hebrew. So we have our people like the 2023 elections. That's where we're talking about the foreign nations coming to our aid. Today, United States of America is telling that they do not recognize President Maduro of Venezuela, the election, and so on and so forth. It's part of what we are talking about. You know that the president, the election that brought President Tinubu into power is fraudulent, wicked, disgusting, an abuse of democratic process. In the most abusive of all electoral processes in the annals of Nigerian history. And people are just following, it has passed. They're even talking about 2027. Because if you cannot fight against the present injustice, the injustice that emanated in 2023, if you feel you no longer have power, it no longer concerns you with all the hardships going on in Nigeria, if you don't have the capability to confront it right now, is it 2027 that you have the capacity to confront when it comes in more ferocious manner? So it is, you invest in the political liberation of your people. You invest in the battle against injustice among your people, and invest for the future of your generations to come. Israel today is talking about that. Israelis are celebrating because 3 hostages were released a few days ago, and they have about 100, forgetting that more than 300 army of troops, seasoned officers and men of Israeli army have died in the process. They are not talking about the more than 300 Israeli soldiers, an officer that died in the course of liberating these three people that are jubilating. But that is the sacrifice, that is sense of patriotism. They are not doing it because of the present, they are doing it because of the future. Because the injustice we fail to protect today, the injustice we fail to counter today, the injustice we fail to go against today, will consume your generation in future. So when we are fighting, we are not fighting because we want to live. We are fighting so that our generations in future we have a better place to live. That is idea of Jewish nationality. That was idea that sustained them for over 2,000 years with a spirit centered on Jerusalem. For those of us who were Christians are aware of Psalm 23 and so on and so forth. So we must design, especially the Christians of this country, we must design to take back the power because Nigeria belongs to Christians. As a professional historian, and I tell you that before jihad, Islam had already reached Kano. Islam had already reached Borno. Coptic Christianity, these were all, because just as the whole North Africa today were Christians, the Christianity in North America, in North Africa, had moved to northern Nigeria before the emergence of Islam. Today, Congo Democratic Republic is confronting the same Islamists. You are talking of a country where the Muslims are 5% in population. Not far away, far ago. Central African Republic, where Muslims are just 10%. They took power. If not for the people, the anti-Balaka rising, the people rising, say, it cannot happen. Are we talking of Mozambique, where the Muslims are still 5%? They're still fighting to take power. So the battle in Africa is not a question of just injustice and misgovernance. There is a direct assault by Islamism, by jihadism on the country. Because Islam does not support democracy. Islam does not recognize freedom. It does not recognize freedom of speech. So for anybody thinking that under Tinubu, that there be freedom of speech, there be freedom of religion, it will not happen because they did not experience it under Buhari. Anybody thinking that President Ahmed Tinubu with a Vice President Shetima who seared Boko Haram will bring about the end of insurgency in Nigeria, that person is somnambulating, is sleepwalking. So we must take proactive action to stand up and fight our own rights. And that is the reason why I am where I am today. And I want Nigerians to know that and put up their sacrifice. Because whatever money you accumulate, whatever wealth you focus your mind, it is easy to die now. They just call it's a question of taking, okay, died of cardiac arrest, and that is fine now. You forget everything. But it is better while you live that you sacrifice and fight for your generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you, Doctor, on the program. And I believe what you said is a clear awareness campaign to conscientize the people, because it's all about the people to self-actualize their path and focus on ways to liberate themselves ultimately from bad governance, because everything you have narrated is all coming from bad leadership. And that is a shift in paradigm on what is obtainable before Trump came back again as the 47th president of America. And we really appreciate your time joining us tonight. We had a couple of people who had made their comments, but because of want of time, we will not be taking those commentaries today. Maybe subsequently, will we have the opportunity of taking commentaries. Prof, all you've said is really very significant. if only the people will be able to, dissect this information and position themselves when the opportunity provides itself, they should take advantage of it to redefine governance in Africa, because that is where we'll be wrapping it up. The governance in Africa. Governance in Africa is the root of all of these things that are happening in Africa and beyond, why the people are suffering. So, in your own opinion, what must be done? And from there, we'll start wrapping it up because we are done for today.
Yeah, just as I said, there are more proactive reaction. Presently now, you see, you can see what happened in Sri Lanka, what happened in Bangladesh.
Yes.
People said, no, this is wrong. Nigerians are intrepid in actions. It's not just about making money. You must also be intrepid in deciding your political fate. I'm not saying people should take up arms, but there are other ways. Like, let me come into our own brother, P2B, which you might not like. By now, what we expect P2B to be doing is to campaign for readjustment, for the amendment of those loopholes that INEC and Supreme Court used to, to impose this, this oppressive regime on us. That is what we'll be talking about. Where he could be a prophet of doom. The Professor Yakubu is still there, unrepentant, making useless statements. Nobody questions him because Nigerians suffer from what I can say. We call it amnesia in history, loss of memory. You are beaten today. Tomorrow you forget. You go back to the same person who beat you yesterday. So Nigerians, especially the religious body, let me tell you, it takes one day for that nonsense to stop in Nigeria. Misgovernance, high cost of living, corrupt politicians. It just takes one day. People are serious. If all the people, if all the churches in Nigeria, let me even leave the imams, if all the churches and all concerned Nigerians who are suffering today said today is the end, we need a change, and troop into the streets and say this government must go. We need a new constitution that will be people oriented. We need a new regime that will go with the conscience of the people. We need a new regime that will be constitutionally tailored in such a way as to safeguard democracy, security of lives and property in Nigeria, and troop into the streets. Let's see how many people, the army and the police and other security agencies, who are also suffering like the people we kill. Because their conditions are not even many. If you're a policeman or your army, you are killed today in action, before even your children or your wife is giving your benefits, they're driven out of their quarters, your official quarters. Even to get the grant is a problem. So they know that Nigerian system is corrupt. Because you're a civil servant, you are not even sure of your pension. Those who worked many years ago still struggle to fight for their pension. But in America, in Europe, in other ways, even in Philippines here, where I am, if you retire, you are assured of your pension. So if you are assured of your pension, your regular pension, why can't you be dedicated in your job as a civil servant? It is the fear of after work, the fear of after job, the fear of after engagement that even often drive people into corruption. Let me steal more so that when I leave, I'll be able to sustain from my stolen items. Otherwise, I will go through that same problem of not being paid my pension and so on. So we need a general re-engineering. And the general re-engineering cannot be effected by the current crop of politicians in Nigeria. From the president through the National Assembly, the most corrupt National Assembly I've ever met. Not just corrupt, but dummy, impotent National Assembly. From that National Assembly, down to the states, to even to the grassroots, to the policeman on the road, who even sees his position as oppressive, as a tool to oppress the other people. The army on the checkpoint, who sees his uniform and gun as a tool to oppress other people. We need to re-engineer the moral setting of our nation based on nationalistic and patriotic principles. And that cannot be affected by the current regime. So we need a change. And that change, as I said, can be effected once the people decide to do it in a day. Let's see how many people, because those people that will even be killed cannot be up to the people that are being killed, kidnapped and killed every day and massacred every day. So if you come out, if you're afraid not to come out and enforce your right for the change, for positive change in your country, you continue to be kidnapped, you continue to be massacred, you continue to be killed, and nobody will take action on them. Tell me one Fulani herdsman, tell me one bandit, tell me one Boko Haram who has been brought to court and charged and committed for murder, for killing people, for killing Christians. None. But we hear about repentant Boko Haram, repentant this and so on and so on. Which means if you're killed today in Nigeria, that is final. Because even the policemen are not safe. The army officers are not safe. So the idea of even running to the police because you are threatened no longer exists in Nigeria. Because the policeman will tell you that even himself is under threat. So Nigeria is not safe for anybody. Those who are killing, it's Nigeria now is somebody, you just get a hired assassin and give you a few naira because of the poverty, the prevalent poverty. He kills somebody, and what do they call it? It's no longer.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nwankwo, for this insight, and I believe is a wonderful one. Those of you who have watched this far, we appreciate you and hope that you're going to join us again as we continue to enlighten the people. But that is our commitment on this platform. Dr. Nwankwo joined us from Philippines, and he is a very wonderful, outspoken man from Ibuzo, Delta State, and a former director, Center for Igbo Studies, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and he is also an expert in ethnic and religious conflict in Africa. He's currently the president of International Coalition Against Christian Genocide in Nigeria and Africa. So thank you, Doctor, for being part of our program tonight. I will hope to bring you back again on subsequent programs on Matters Arising.
Thank you for this opportunity to share my views with the people. God bless and goodbye.
God bless you. God bless you too. And on that is where we're wrapping it up on today's Matters Arising. But before I conclude completely, somebody who have been trying to join us virtually, Dr. Raf Ike, he had been calling, and I want to have him back on the program so that he can make his submission very quickly. No, we are still on. We are about closing, but we can't. No, we are still on. You might say, tell us. No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? All right, Dr. Raf, you are joining us from the United States. I believe you have gone back, right?
Oh, yeah. I've been in US for 10 days now.
Okay. Because I was with you about a couple of weeks ago in Nigeria here.
Yeah, I think, after we saw each other, I left a week later. So I've been back. I have worked for 2 weeks already, I think. Yes, I have worked for 2 weeks.
Okay, now give us your assessment because we are talking about the impact of Trump's policy, his executive order on Africa. You living in America, give us your brief, just very brief, wrapping up on your assessment.
The only thing I wanted to put into this is that this is the same thing Trump did in 2016. Executive order is not a law. That is just writing executive order for popular. Executive order is not popular because it doesn't affect the law. It's like you're talking about border issues. Border issues, Trump cannot change it. It's the law that has been over there for 200 and something years. Trump, his grandfather is from Germany. The only people that own this land that we are living today, is the Native Americans. And the Native Americans have been pushed away. So he cannot do what he's saying. He knows, but it's a campaign thing. It's all that executive order that he signed yesterday or 2 days ago. All of them will be thrown out. He did the same thing in 2016. So I don't think it have any effect or anything. It's not going to change anything because of how the system works. The Supreme Court cannot change that. It's the law of the land.
Okay.
So, yeah, he says every country else don't do this. But every country else is not America. America is a country of immigrants. The only people that owns it have been pushed away. The only reason why he's doing this is that if you're coming from a perspective of non-white, you're not Hispanic and black people. That is really where he's focusing. Unfortunately, it's sad that it's like that because the white people that come from different countries to come to America and migrate to America, I don't know why they want to do that, but when they do that, they don't consider them immigrants. So that is just my opinion.
All right. Now, are you concerned about the issue of we've talked about migration, birth, and all of those executive orders based on the fact that you say is not a law, but an order that can be thrown out and all that. Is there any positivity? I'm coming, sir, Doctor. With respect to Africa, we the people in Africa, where you come from, do you think that there is a side of Trump pushing for global peace, which will enable Africa to stabilize? And do you think that... go on.
In terms of that, the only thing he will do for Africa is putting visa ban. That is all he can do. Like he did it in 2016. For him to stop, let me tell you, America do what is best for them, right? And what is best for them, where they can financially gain something, is what is best for America. So the only thing he can do is go to Justice Department and put visa ban in different countries, which is what he did last time. He will do this. Everybody will have to anticipate that he will do the same thing again. But in terms of changing the law, this thing he says, oh, I want everybody to pay their fair share. Last time he said the same thing. But things were the same way he is. Things were the same way until he left. That is just the reality.
So you're saying that Africa shouldn't expect anything from this Trump, that his administration won't change anything in Africa?
He might, to me, what he's going to do is to ban the Africans. That is what he's going to succeed. But he will not ban South Africa. That is number one. He will not ban like white Zimbabwe or where you have white skin Africans. He will not do anything to those countries. But because of his nature as a human being, he will do everything. Anybody that is, any country that is dark people, he will do anything to stop those countries not to come. That is just the reality.
The Mexicans that is blocking their borders, are they black?
Can I say something? Okay, they are not black, but what do they have that Africans have? Their economy is a tank. He said last time he will build the wall. They never built the wall. Guess what? The people that contributed money to build the wall, he took it from them. They never built the wall. Those are campaign promises that is not going to fulfill. Do you know how many people that cross U.S. Mexico border every day that work in United States? You can't revoke those visas. You cannot revoke those visas because you need those people. In Trump, the people that mow his lawn are Hispanics. Those are the people that mow his lawn. You can't see him doing that work. So it's going to be difficult for him to do that. The promises he made last time, he didn't fulfill them. The only reason why he's keep on being a big deal that Trump is still in this stage is because nobody else can challenge Trump. America is not ready for a woman to be their president. And not only that, America cannot afford for a woman to be their president, talk less of a black woman. That is just the reality of America.
Okay.
So, but Trump is a true reflective of what America is. A true reflective of what America is.
All right.
There's no doubt about it.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
One thing I like about him is that he says what they say in the house, inside the room. He said it in public. That is, he's not afraid of saying what they say inside the room in public, and that is the reason why Americans love him. But that is my opinion.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Raf.
Yeah, I'm not a politician. I'm a scientist, but I'm not a politician. I do common sense thinking.
It's okay.
I've lived in America for I've seen multiple presidents come and go.
It's okay.
It's not. Border issue is one of the, in every political era. Border. It's like Nigeria. In every politician, he promised you to build infrastructure. But then at the end, there's no infrastructure built. Infrastructure. They award contracts and people take the money. So that is how it goes. But anyway, that is just my 5 cents in your conversation today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Doctor. React to it very quickly so that we can wrap up because we are almost ending.
First of all, that is why I don't agree with this my kinsmen United States of America, because they don't think the way we think. It's not about people coming that, Trump's grandfather came from Germany. It's not the issue. The issue that Trump was talking about illegal immigrants. He's talking about illegal immigrants. Every sovereign nation has the right to control its border. In Philippines, here I am. In anywhere, in Nigeria, you are talking of illegal immigrants. Nigeria deported Ghanaians. Ghanaians deported Nigeria. Today, Britain, it is part of their problem to illegal immigrants. It's not a question of, Trump should. It has nothing to do with racism. And there are the problems, these people, my brother has said, there are the problems we have in Nigeria. He's talking about, South Africa will not be affected because that one. Because Elon Musk is there to lobby for their people. The Jews are there to lobby for their people. What are the if policy? If these people try to lobby Trump to effect his policy in our favor, he will do it. So they cannot impose their own failures on us. They cannot compel us to go with their incapability. Because what they're supposed to do for us, they're not doing it in North America. So he cannot come and tell us Trump is this, Trump is that, when he cannot do anything. What did they do? Even Joe Biden, who they claim has been pro-America, even Obama, who they claim have been pro-Africa, and so on and so forth. What did they do? How did they do to compare Joe Biden? They were there when Joe Biden removed Nigeria on the list of those countries where Christians are being persecuted. They did not do anything. And they're coming here to tell us cock and bull story. We need responsible, patriotic Nigerians in America to come out and notice and fight for our case. He will come to Nigeria. He will use his money and get police escort because he has dollars to spend. Now he has gone back to America. He's not telling us about Kamala. What is Kamala Harris an African? He only became a black because of this election. She has been cohabiting and associating with Indians. So you don't bring issue of Kamala Harris. Biden was there. What did he do to solve this security problem in Africa, the economic problem in Africa? You come here to tell us cock and bull story because you don't love Trump. If you don't love him, it doesn't mean we should not love him. So please, we need people, our people in America, who are very, very logical in the assessment of the situation, in the judgment of the their needs of their people in Africa. Not people who come there and tell us cock and bull stories about Trump being this, Trump being bad, and so on and so forth. Whereas we are telling you that Trump is only president in recent times, only American president in recent times, that recognize the fact that Christians in our country are being killed, are being tortured, are being persecuted. People cannot praise him for that. Come here to tell us Trump. We're not interested in that. You all rose up. You are campaigning against him and so on and so. Finally, he won. You told us he will not win. Now you are not putting up alibi on why Kamala Harris is not win because she's a woman. That was not the reason. Kamala Harris had nothing on her table for the people of America and for Africa in general. Thank you very much.
All right, and on that, we are calling it a day. What a wonderful time to be with you, Dr. Nwankwo. And to our viewers, we really appreciate every one of you who have joined this program tonight. Okay, it would have ended long before now, but we just had to take that call from Dr. who called us from the United States of America. And on that, I say good night to you. Stay safe at all times. Until we come back again on Matters Horizon, I still remain as Suchino Peters. Bye-bye for now.
What might be the first
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
That's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one. What is this one?
Withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Sir.
Ooh, that's a big one. So we paid $500 million to World Health when I was here, and I terminated it. China with 1.4 billion people. We have 350. We have, nobody knows what we have because so many people came in illegally, but let's say we have 325. They had 1.4 billion. They were paying 39 million, we were paying 500 million. It seemed a little unfair to me. So that wasn't the reason, but I dropped out. They offered me to come back for 39 million. In theory, it should be less than that, but you know. And when Biden came back, they came back for 500 million. He knew that you could have come back for 39 million. They wanted us back so badly, so we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, if I were President Tinubu, I would try to steer clear of antagonizing him because there is nothing a bully likes better than taking on people who are not strong enough to resist him.